Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by DraftKings. You have reached the week of win totals. Yes, 4 win total shows this season because, hey, you can't get enough of a good thing, right? Smash the like button to the episode, sub to Mayo Media Network, sub to the podcast, leave a rating and review. If you do that and include your Twitter handle, you're going to be in a draw where I'm just going to give out $1,000 at the beginning of week 2. So you have all of week 1 to go do it. Leave those rating and reviews on Spotify and Apple Podcasts on the Pat Mayo Experience. Better be 5 stars, by the way, and then I'll divvy up the amount of winners and just give that $1,000 cash out to all of you. So spread the word, by the way. That's the one thing you can do to help out this show. Share the show. Tell some friends. Listen, you're not giving away big secrets here by spreading the word of our show. You don't need to keep this one to yourself. So help us as we gear up for the season. Cam and Pizzola show already out. That'll be back for the season. Me, Cust, and Geoff, obviously on all of these shows, doing our spread pick shows. It's going to be a really fun NFL season. So today we are starting NFC win totals, the NFC East, the NFC South, and there's going to be a Cust Corner mixed in between. So smash the like button for the episode. Give us your favorite win total from these two divisions down in the comment section. And remember to sub to runthesims.com. You go to runthesims.com/Mayo. You get 10% off the betting and DFS tools package. There's no picks on the site. There's projections that are completely customizable, and you can run the tools and run up to 10,000 simulations of each week any way that you want, and then glean what you need to from that. It's the best sim out there, and so many people are using sims in order to make their projections and make their picks. It's what you want to be doing. runthesims.com/Mayo. Jeffrey Fienberg, sir, I heard you had some words for our good friends in the extended Mayo Media universe of Cam Stewart and Rob Pizzola.
Listen, I have texts that would contradict some of the slander that's come against me early in the season. Out of the gates, they're already complaining about golf games that didn't happen. I lost my leg for half the season. I got a laundry list of people who I promised to take. That's not the point. That's not the point. Getting Cam to do anything is like jumping through rings of fire. And then he's saying, I'm free Fridays. I would love to. That's incredible. Pizzola, he's now done this turn where he's the busiest guy in the world. And it'd be impossible to get him on the course. So I don't know what I'm working with, but I seem to glean more information from listening to the podcast than I do from actually DMing my friends.
Your leg's feeling fine now, right?
Yeah, we're good. We're going. And before, it was all these I got these windows. I don't want a little window. I'd treat you to a meal after. I don't want it to be this 8:30 in the morning. We got to keep pace with the old guys who play their quick ones behind. I didn't want that. I want to give a full day experience, treat you to a meal. Let's relax. I don't want anyone to have to golf and run. That's not my plan. So I don't know, but it's going to happen. I guess to know Cam is free all day Fridays, this is done now. This is done. But again, I find out this information watching the show.
Well, it's a good thing you watched the show. Put it this way, the show has enough to learn from for everyone, whether it's you personally, whether it's people about best bets. You want to watch the best bet show, it's already out, down in the description. And if you want more Tim Undercust.
That's not my name.
Well, we already did our awards prediction show as well. You can find that up on Mayo Media Network, and the entire package for free is down in the comment section if you want to do it. You guys ready to hop in? Tim, are you ready for the East?
I am. I'm very glad that we're doing the National Football Conference win totals first, so we can ease ourselves into these are the amuse-bouche picks before we get into the Chateaubriand of the AFC in the future.
Well, you need more time because based on what I see, how you interact with people, you are still literally changing Jet win totals daily. So you wouldn't be prepared, I think, to actually make a decision yet. So we're not ready for the AFC.
I treat Jets win totals like my NCAA bracket. I tinker with it until tip-off at noon on Thursday. Until I have to make that pick on the show, I feel complete liberty to fiddle around with my win totals till I'm locked in.
You had them winning 8 games before Halloween yesterday. They only play 8 games before Halloween.
Well, that's my fault for not realizing that's the amount of games. I was getting the earlier schedule is easier than the harder schedule. I was getting hyped.
Well, Geoff, he also proclaimed that the Jets have 4 top 50 quarterbacks on their roster because some guy in the preseason was like, all right, some like CFL backup.
Oh, you're not going to CFL back up me. I'm a Chris Traveler GOAT truther.
He's
Love
really
him.
good.
I truly believe players like him have an absolute place in this league. There are so many bungled 3rd and shorts, 4th and shorts, league-wide. If Tim Tebow wasn't such a prima donna and was willing to be specialized in the first, or I guess in the point of the career, that second leg of his career, we realize you're no longer a starter, he would have been great at this. I truly believe this skill set is absolutely worth a roster spot and dressing. I'm not here to address Tim's 50 or 4 top 50 QBs, but there should be more of these guys dressing on game day. When you the high leverage 3rd and 4th down short yardages, he'd get them with ease.
There you go, Tim. You still confident about those 4 top 50 quarterbacks?
I said top 50 to top 60. Yeah, I stand by what I said.
You also said that you also said they may have 11 Pro Bowlers this year, tying the record.
I listed 11 guys that I could see if everything broke perfectly. Any of those 11 guys could be Pro Bowlers, yes.
All right. Let's jump into the NFC East win totals. That's what we're here to do. The Dallas Cowboys, who you got, are up first. Their win total is 10. That's even at -110 to the under and the over at DraftKings Sportsbook. -250 to make the playoffs, +140 to win the division. They are the favorites. +900, so 9-1 to win the conference, 20-1 to win the Super Bowl. Geoff, we're going to start with you. The talk and buzz of the preseason from everyone who is intelligent and who I consider sharp, not myself, but sharp people out there that I have talked to, all love the Cowboys under. Starting to think that it might just hit over and Dallas might actually just be the cream of the crop in this division because this division's not great.
I remember last season, we were all I was very gung-ho on Dallas and did literally like Tim, waiting till the final tip, switch to Philly. It was a big backfire. Yeah, you stare at that 10, but 11 to actually, win your bet. This is a tough one. I think Dallas is better than people are probably perceiving them to be, but I'm not seeing 11 wins. So therefore, I'm going to lean with the Gen Pop on this one, Pat.
The Gen Pop.
I'm gonna take the under. I'm gonna take the under here for Dallas at 11. Yeah.
Interesting. Tim, did you have anything to go back at Geoff with on this, or are you on team under as well?
I'm on team under as well. I look at Dallas's schedule, and there's just because they won their division last season, they have a tough schedule. I mean, they start with the Buccaneers and the Bengals, like back to back. Like that's trouble. That's real trouble. Then they have LA, the Rams sprinkled in there early, as well as games against the Packers and the Vikings. I don't like this Dallas team that much. I think it is well said that this division is weak. It's probably the weakest division in the entire NFL. I have to play the under. I don't think that they're going to go 11-6. So I think 10-7 is the number. I don't have a big embrace of any of the teams in this division, to be frank. But I'm going to play the under on Dallas.
I think I would play the under, but I don't hate them to win the conference bet at 9-1 either.
They haven't been to a championship game since you and I were in elementary school.
And
that's not going to happen.
The funny thing is the whole market perception flips on Dallas if they win that week 1 game versus Tampa. And I wouldn't be shocked if they won that game either. So I hate that, oh my God, we're starting this thing. And I'm literally oh, my chota hurts because I'm sitting on the fence and I just got spiked. I see them winning 10 games. I'm sitting right on this number here.
I'm kind of with you as well. Yeah, that week 1 game at Tampa does kind of, it actually doesn't flip their season, but it will flip the perception on their season most definitely. And what are they, like 2-point dogs in that game, if anything?
Yeah,
Paul just walked in front of the
home dog.
But Paul is searching for a coin because I forgot the coin is supposed to be on the show. We're off to a hot start in the 2022 season already. Paul, you can go to your car and go get the coin. I'll vamp about Dallas and we'll go through. So they lose Amari Cooper. There's Paul again. Hi, Paul. In front of the camera. I love it. Okay, Geoff, I'll ask you this to start off. What do you make of the Dallas defense? Because I think that's really the critical element of all of this. Like, do you think that they punch above their weight again in certain aspects of the season? Or are we going to get to the point where we saw them 2 years ago before Dak got hurt and it was just abysmal and Dallas had to try to score 47 points in order to win? Games they weren't winning. They were scoring 45 points, like losing in these games.
After Micah Parsons, if I told you who gets to the quarterback on this team now that Randy Gregory isn't there, it's Dorrance Armstrong.
That's a good name, though. Dorrance?
Even Diggs, who gets so much love and egregiously ranked on that NFL top 100 list.
Was he above or below Herbert, who was last place?
There weren't too many people below Herbert on that list.
Listen, there are a lot of players Diggs did not deserve to be lower than. He makes those interceptions. He also gives up over 1,000 yards to receivers. So a lot of boomer bust. I love Parsons like everybody. He plays 5 positions, it feels like at times, but the weakness of this team could be that defense. I don't see much there. And I don't really care for what happened in the preseason, but people around Dallas are freaking out that this team takes so many penalties. So that appears to be a really big concern for people.
Underscore that point. When in doubt, you've got one of the worst coaches in football in Mike McCarthy coaching Dallas. So never forget that. If you're on the fence, McCarthy is more than capable of costing this team 1 to 2 wins just by his own inanity.
I do also believe that there's for all these Cowboy fans are so insanely blind and always think their team is winning the Super Bowl. I have to say the Cowboy fans I interact with are so broken and jaded and don't think anything positive will be happening to their team anytime soon.
I agree. I don't find Cowboys fans are that sounds like Maple Leaf fans. That's how they think. Cowboys fans aren't like that.
Or it's just like an ESPN thing that they run with that doesn't seem to still be true. I'm not really sure, but at least the ones I know they're so powerful in numbers, but at least the football fans who like the Dallas Cowboys I interact with play nothing to the national narrative around Cowboy fans.
I can completely see that. Now, that's why I was wondering if they're going to be undervalued right now or not, because everyone knows if Dallas is good, everything gets a juice to the over. So you'll get an extra point or 1.5 points on them in week 1 games if people expect them to be good. But I do feel like the reverse is true for them if people perceive them to be bad, and actually kind of makes them a nice buying position, because for as many people who love the Cowboys, who want to bet on the Cowboys, there's also the other side of the population where if Cowboys fans are down on the Cowboys, you have all these people who want to line up and bet against the Cowboys in this spot. So I think it's kind of tricky to figure out where they're at for the season because, they lost Amari Cooper. That sucks. Is it going to kill their offense? I don't think so. I think their offense is still going to be pretty good.
They led the league in turnovers last year.
So they're probably
confident that
so they're probably not. No, so that's probably never going to not never going to happen again. It's probably not going to happen this year though.
Depends on the nature of those turnovers. They're mostly fumbles. I agree. If there's a lot of interceptions, that's less likely to turn around.
Even interception. There's so how many interceptions did Carson Wentz have thrown last year, Tim?
A bunch, and we're going to come on to Washington here very soon, and a team that I really don't like. But yeah, Dallas is a mediocre middle of the run team, but this is what the NFC is all about this year. There's 3 really good teams, and everyone else is kind of trash in the NFC. And Dallas happens to be in a division where the Eagles are okay, the Giants are a mess, the Commanders are a real mess, and they could exceed this and win 11 or 12 games and run away because they get to play 6 games in division and they get to play a ton of NFC games, and the talent in the NFC is rather bereft.
So
there's roads for NFC teams that simply don't exist in the AFC. So
You can make the case for everyone that isn't like Chicago to win like 12 games this year if everything breaks perfectly.
yeah, and you can be excited because you can just see if
Yeah.
your team is half decent, you can see this luck path that can exist for you that certainly will not exist. There'll be no luck getting lucky through the AFC this year.
Yeah, I agree with you, Geoff, completely.
So the coin has made his arrival on the scene. Heads for over, tails for under. We'll see how the coin does. We have tails. So tails under. That's a round of unders on the Cowboys because I, too, am going under the 10 on the Cowboys. Probably wouldn't be a bet for me, though.
Yeah, no bet.
I'm not feeling strongly about it, but
Paul has a question.
That's a 50-cent piece from the island of Fiji.
It is.
I keep it in my car for good.
so?
I keep it in my car for good luck.
Have you been having good luck?
I mean, I'm here.
They're good enough. So the regular coin is on vacation until tomorrow. So we'll get the one with my face on
it
the
can
back.
stay on vacation.
It's really big. When you're in studio, because we're doing in studio Sunday Night Live, Tim and I with a special guest every single week. I just have to. The coin will be here. I'm gonna get the coin to Troy. Maybe even give the coin its own mic. How about that?
We could just like the week you were away, and so you put up that picture of yourself at the old office and had the camera on that photo of you every time you spoke.
That was great until A-Rap broke the glass of the photo. Let's move on to the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles win total is a little bit different. They're 9.5. It is juiced to plus 125 for the under, minus 150 to the over 9.5. People are on the Eagles this year. Minus 190 to make the playoffs, plus 160 to win the division. They're 11-1 to win the conference, 22-1 to win the Super Bowl. So to juxtapose that with the Cowboys, the Eagles are plus 160, the Cowboys are plus 140. Although Dallas apparently has a much better chance of making the playoffs because they're minus 250, not minus 190. We're getting a full year 2 of Jalen Hurts. They bring in A.J. Brown. We know that their offensive line is going to continue to be one of the best in football. I think there's a lot to like about the Eagles. They did make the playoffs last year. I know it didn't really go well for them, but they were there. That's always a positive thing. Like when you hear people hype up the Raiders this year, a lot of it's predicated on, well, they made the playoffs last year and they're better this year. I would wager that the Eagles are better this year, but I don't know, Geoff. I remember when the Chargers played the Eagles last season. They covered it. They covered the 2.5 with a 3-point win, but they just kept being feisty in these games. But they did feel like a team that if they ever got down by too much, like they remind me of like the Bush League Ravens in a weird way.
Yeah, I can see that. They were definitely a feisty team, a team that, everyone was making jokes about, as Sirianni was talking about, planting and, the cycle of a plant. And as that season went on, it was actually, the team was growing and becoming better and more competitive. They struggled, it seemed like, versus any quarterback who could actually throw the football, I recall, Pat. But this is a really interesting one because when you look at their schedule and you go by like Vegas Advanced, they're favored in double-digit games, and that doesn't include 2 pick'ems. Now, they're not huge favorites, and these are lines set in the summer, but to give to
You're getting there. Keep trying.
Juxtaposition.
Justice. No, it's justice of the position. I'm with you, Geoff.
Juxtapose?
Yeah, that's sure. Go with that. How about take either side of the coin? Maybe that's something you can sub in for that word. Hey, listen, I'm not going to try to pound on you for this. I can barely say trajectory. I have to say it really slow because I tried to say it fast, and I sound like my 3-year-old who just slurs words together. Some of them aren't. Some people just can't say certain words like me right now. See, I'm helping you out, Geoff, is what I'm doing.
Thank you.
We're in mid-season form. We can't talk. People are walking in front of the cameras.
So, yeah, but I'm still going to pick the under. It's almost like I'm just deciding I'm going under with Dallas and Philly. This division, I like a lot of things in other divisions. This one sort of has me not in a position to make any bets, but I'm gonna pick under in Philadelphia. But I like a lot of the things that are happening, all those new veteran faces, how the draft went for them. I like it.
I think that Philadelphia is going to, and maybe I'm going to take the under as well. And the coin is also jumping on the under bandwagon, Tim. But it kind of feels like Philly's going to be a really good front-running team this season, that if they can jump out to an early lead just based on the way that they're able to run the ball. And listen, they bring in a superstar receiver. If they can play up-tempo, run off play action, like they were doing like the first 5 weeks of the year last year before they became the most run-heavy team in football, I just think that they're going to be very good at that. It just, in these close games, chasing games, can they move the ball down the field fast enough? And then if you have these pick'ems or 3-point spreads, and even Tim, you rag on this every year, and one of the few things you're ever right about is that no matter how good Philly is or how bad Washington or the Giants are, these are going to be close games. They just are. And in close
every
games,
year,
flip the coin, and that's how most of these games are settled.
Yeah, that tends to be the way of it. I am going to then diverge from you guys for the first time, because I was going to have probably 4 unders in this division, and I can't do that. I need to have an over. And I think Philadelphia is slightly the best team in the division. I think if I could trust their trigger man, I could pick Philadelphia to go very, very far this season. You mentioned their offensive line. It's extremely talented. They have added one of the better receivers in football to their core in A.J. Brown. I think that defense has a lot of interesting pieces, but I don't trust the quarterback to throw the ball in big spots. I like Hurts. I think Hurts is an interesting player. I hope that he has made some progress in this offseason with his play, but I don't trust him as a passer, and that is limiting. At some point, you're going to get into spots, as you mentioned. If you're down 14, outside of turnovers or luck or special teams, how's Philadelphia getting back into games? That's less of a concern within their division, but when they go up against the Tampas and the New Orleans and the Rams and the Cardinals and the 49ers, how are they going to win those types of games? I don't know that they can. So I will play the over slightly. I think this team wins 11 games, maybe 10 or I think 11 or 11 games. We'll play the over, but I wouldn't bet it. I'm not super confident, but it's the team of the 4 I like in the division.
Making up those 2 scores in the fourth quarter would be difficult, but getting behind the 8 ball early in a game for this team, I would argue their defense it can be fantastic. Yards per play last year, they were fantastic. There's talent at every level. They got no turnover luck last year. So that's the type of defense. You go down 10 or 14 early, you get to the third quarter, and the other team still only has 17 points, and you've made it a 1-score game. So I don't know. That would be the strength of their ability to stay in games, would be that defense. And, if they don't panic on offense, well, you're very anti-Hurts from what seems like a true NFL standpoint. Are you high on him fantasy-wise? Because it seems like I had him last year. He was fantastic. And if I ended up with him again, I'd be thrilled.
Yeah, I have him ranked number 5 at quarterback in terms of fantasy, but there is a huge line between what makes a great fantasy player and what makes a great real-life player. I think Hurts could get there. I haven't seen it. And I know that part of this is projecting out what you think is going to happen, but I think he's really a true unknown. I don't think that he's ever going to lose his job this season unless he gets hurt or something like that. But just remember last season, Hurts was winning games. Hurts was playing pretty well. And Gardner Minshew starts one game, and then it's should Gardner Minshew be the starter of this team? No was the answer, and they thankfully made the correct decision on that. But just the fact that that's still out there, and I could see it happening again this year if he goes down for.
I remember
the backup
last year in the playoffs.
All right, yeah.
What happened? They get down to Tampa right away, and that game was over, and we all knew it was. And even Aikman on the broadcast was just then spending the rest of the playoff game
it turned into a podcast.
How basically, Hurts can't throw the ball, and this game is not going to be able to come close again. And he was right. I mean, that is emblazoned in my mind because we all knew it too. By the second quarter, that playoff game was over, and that concerns me. As we get sort of into the deeper part of the season with the Eagles. But if you're asking me to cap the division, I say they're the best of the lot, and should hit the rover. I think.
I think that they obviously people agree with you because it's juiced to -150 on the 9.5. I think they're the most popular division bet winner at the moment. I think that the path for them to get to 11 games, because I think they're going to beat up on bad teams. And that's a big part of getting to some of these inflated. I don't even know if 9.5 is inflated, but that's really a big part of it. Don't play the close games against the crappy teams, blow them out, and try to win coin flip games against the good teams, or just don't play a lot of good teams. And sometimes that can really inflate your record at the same time. But just because Jalen Hurts was bad in a playoff game last year, remember how terrible Lamar Jackson was in his first playoff game? Then he came out and won the MVP the next year. Like, guys can improve.
Sure. I agree.
It was the argument that you still hold on to about Josh Allen, that he sucked in his very first playoff game. Well, the guy's gotten a lot better since then. He's not the same guy that
Completely
he used to be.
agree.
So Jalen,
I said,
if Jalen Hurts takes a leap this year and is like good, they could be like 14-3.
I agree, and that's why I sort of said in my peroration there that if I hope that he has made progress, and I hope that he has made strides. Because if he had Philadelphia, it could be a very interesting team this season. But I don't see it. I think they need to replace. If you told me that they were going to take Hurts out of the trigger spot and put Minshew in, I wouldn't change my bet at all or my pick.
I most definitely would.
Come on.
Is Minshew even on the team anymore? Is he still an Eagle?
Yeah, he's a backup.
He's an Eagle, but
I'm skeptical. Color me skeptical. I hope I'm proven wrong, but color me skeptical. This guy got benched for Tua in a national championship game.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
how bad do you have to be?
So you're not holding on to anything, but you're holding on to he got benched for Tua in a national championship game 4 years ago, which I believe they won, didn't they?
Yeah, on a sort of fluky pass.
All right. So Philadelphia under, over for Cust, under for the coin. The Commanders are up next. I picked Ron Rivera to win Coach of the Year. So that means I didn't pick him to win Coach of the Year. I thought it was the best value bet on the board for Coach of the Year because the voting public really likes Ron Rivera. He's already won it twice, but he hasn't won it yet with the Commanders. Their over-under is set at 8. I wish they would just put hooks on all of these. That would make over-unders far more fun. Can you imagine tying up your money, Geoff, the entire season to have a push? Like, that would be the fucking worst.
It would be, but I tell you, you get to that week 17 game or 18 game, and you're begging for that push sometimes too for whatever's happening.
Agree.
To
I
go
agree.
Exactly. If you sit down at the blackjack table and you get dealt 17 and the dealer's showing an 8 and they flip over that 9, you are ecstatic for that push.
The over is even money, so it's plus 100 at DraftKings Sportsbook. Under 8 wins is minus 120, so there's more action on the under for the Commanders. I'm actually going to go over on them, and it's probably not why you think. I don't know if Carson Wentz is an upgrade over Heineke or not. Frankly, he's probably not. But they get Curtis Samuel back. They draft Dotson. So their offense, and Logan Thomas is apparently going to be back by like week 2 now. I thought he was going to miss like the entire first half of the season. Doesn't appear to be the case, as he's already been activated off PUP. That's no guarantee. PUP. So he might be back as well. So I think this offense might be a bit more competent than people may think. And Wentz is Wentz. Like, he'll be okay. He's going to make some really, truly horrendous decisions. And he's definitely not going to run as hot as he did with the luck as he did last year in Indianapolis. When we get to Indianapolis, one of the reasons I don't like them as much is because they ran hot on offense last year in terms of not turning the ball over when they should have. And Wentz just kind of wants to give it up to the other team, and sometimes they just decide not to take it. The big thing here, Tim, is I really like this defense. Chase Young comes back 100%. This defense is going to be really good. And
which you won't.
Why?
But you won't, because he's still hurt. I don't trust him. I'm sorry. There's no reason to think he's going to come back and be healthy and not get hurt again. Sorry. Just no reason to believe it, other than it's just projection, wish casting. Probably not going to happen. This is a bad team. They have a couple of good players. They have the worst quarterback in the division. That's saying a lot when Daniel Jones is in this division. They have the worst quarterback in the division. I don't believe in Antonio Gibson. I don't believe in their running back staff. McLaurin's a fine player. I was not a big fan of Dotson in college. I still don't believe they have no tight ends. I don't love their offensive line. I look at this team and it's just like, this is a bad football team. There is not much talent here. This team's going to win 8 games, go at 8-9. I don't think so. No, under. I mean, like, this, is it the worst team in the NFC? No. But is it one of the 3 worst teams? Pretty indisputably. This is a bad football team. Take the under. Get rid of them.
See, I don't think so at all. I think that they're just weirdly competent, Geoff, at almost every level. And in this NFC, that's going to win games. You're not sold. Are you on a are you on a justice of position right now?
I am in a bit of a justice of position. I don't know what to make of this team. This team
Carson
will have
Wentz.
this team will have none of my preseason money at all. The only thing I would consider Washington football team. Yes.
That's not their name
Yeah,
anymore.
they're the Commanders now, man.
Oh,
Now
my
they're the
God,
Commanders.
I'm
You're
giving
still
myself credit
behind.
for getting it right too.
I'm offended.
Yeah, Paul is triggered behind the camera.
Wait till Geoff realizes they're not the Tennessee Oilers, they're the Tennessee Titans.
Stop.
He knew they moved from Houston, but he just
I don't
didn't
know.
know
There's
that
not
they
a single
changed their name.
place I'd want money on this team. Maybe Chase Young to win Defensive Player of the Year after Tim's rant there.
He's going to miss 4 games.
At 20-1 seems kind of fair. Pat, this team was 50-1, 60-1 to win the Super Bowl, and then they got Wentz and their number got bigger.
Yeah, of
I mean,
course.
that's just what the market. So I think we are blindly maybe getting some value on them because no one wants to touch them in that respect. Like there's such a stank.
The only thing
guess-
they have a chance to win is the team with the least attendance at weekly football games. They have a real
I'm
chance to win
gonna-
that award. That's
I
about
don't
it.
know how this is probably shows that I'm not bright because the math can't really break this way. I'm picking under, and I've yet to pick an over in the division.
So me and the coin are going over. You and Tim are going under. I mean, it does feel like, I guess one of them will probably go over. But hey, going 3 for 4 in the division's not bad. You'll be up money if you end up doing that and getting 3 or 4 correct if you bet every team, which we're not doing because no one does that. That would be crazy. If you're betting like
Cam might.
Cam might, but if you're betting like 27 season win totals, you're tying up a lot of money for the entire season.
Didn't he say he had 30 bets in on the tour championship, and there's only 30 people in the tournament?
I've seen Cam's pending sheets on like a random Sunday. It is a sight to behold. You know, they tell you like don't bet every game because what are you trying to do? Go 9-8? Like, what are you realistically doing? What are you trying to do? Go, 10-7? It's hard. Like, he cannot just find the 2 or 3 he loves. He goes everywhere.
He used to have PGAtour.com open on the computer next to me. And I'd go, I just look over and like, you know how you can star your guys, they appear in a different color, like shade. They're darkened at the top and they move everyone to the top of the leaderboard. Then you have your regular leaderboard. He just had everyone start. Like, it's like, you can just use the regular leaderboard for this, man. You don't need to like
people
pick
who
out...
used to go to college.
I don't mean
drive me
to
nuts.
turn this.
People who went to college and had a textbook and just highlighted the whole page.
Yeah.
Like, those people needed to go to prison. Like, what are you doing? Why did you highlight that whole page? You didn't need to highlight any of it.
I don't mean to turn this into an after show based on what happened on your other show. Fantastic content. Go watch it. But like, does anyone see something weird about a self-proclaimed cooking savant just finding out about piri piri for chicken? Or like churrasco is like a style?
I don't think that he said he just found out about it. I think that he was just telling the people in case they didn't know about it.
I think this is the sort of thing that Geoff wouldn't be surprised if I discovered. But
Okay.
I like this. I like that the extended universe has beefs. And these should be stoked.
Show
Has what?
rivalries.
Beefs.
No. No.
Show rivalries. That's what Geoff wants, and I appreciate that.
Are you kidding? No, not at all. There's no rivalry at all.
Rivalries can be friendly.
Sure, like there might be a discourse that goes back and forth. if
Like
you
a
wanna call that
rivalrous discourse.
But I don't see it like there's no. Yeah, I take a bullet for everyone on that show panel.
Yeah, but that's what it's about, is friendly, rivalrous discourse.
Let's move to the...
Oh, they tell me I invite them to play golf, huh?
Well, we listen, in fairness to them, like factually, we have yet to play golf. So if they want to like hold that until it happens, but there's receipts and you can't bash me for not playing golf. And last time we speak, you're literally like, I am so busy. I don't know how to give you a time.
Ooh, rivalry.
Yeah, there you go. That glove has been thrown down. I can't wait for the return fire.
New York.
Well, they'll have to get a new bit because I'm going to end this no golfing bit as soon as possible.
You guys want to talk about the Giants?
Not really.
Okay, well, we're talking about them right now. Their over-under has gone up as the preseason has gone along. I believe it was 6, then it was 6.5. It's actually 7 now at DraftKings Sportsbook. Under 7, -110. Over 7, -110 for the New York Giants. To make the playoffs, they're +230. 8-1 to win the division. 60-1 to win the conference. 130-1 to win the Super Bowl. Probably not going to win the Super Bowl, but they do have a brand new coach, Tim. That has to be good for 5 wins over Joe Judge, who is like a potential play caller with Matt Patricia in New England now. I like that they are kind of pushing Kenny Golladay to the side. Doesn't seem like he's going to be a full-time player anymore. He and Sterling Shepard are going to split time, where you have Kadarius Toney and Wendell Robinson in there. Maybe Daniel Jones can become a bit more efficient, almost like we saw the improvements that Josh Allen made under Brian Daboll. Do not think that Daniel Jones is as good as Josh Allen, but if he just improves, I mean, nowhere to go but up for Daniel Jones. Saquon gets back a little bit healthy. Maybe their defense is looking a little good, although Thibodeaux might miss a week or two, but it turns out he's going to be fine with the sprained knee. I'm kind of leaning, I wish it was still 6, because I think I would have gone over 6. 7 seems about right, and it's going to seem really stupid when they're like 2-15 or something like that, but I think they're going to be weirdly competent, Tim.
Yeah, but you can really only take the over if you think they're going to be an 8-win team, 7-8-win team, and I don't see it. They could be confident. I like Daboll. I think in a couple of years' time, this Giants team will be pointed in the right direction. I mean, I think Daboll leaving Buffalo is perhaps one of the biggest stories of this season that no one really is talking about enough. I think it's a huge loss and a big gain for the Giants. I think that they're going to be well coached. I think they are going to struggle, but you're going to see green shoots. And come the end of the season, we're going to be talking about New York as a potential team that's roiling in the right and getting in the right direction for 2023. But I just don't trust Daniel Jones. In the end, I mean, we look at this division, the teams I like the least are I don't like the Commanders or the Giants because I do not trust their quarterback play. I just don't. And I cannot pick overs on teams with quarterbacks that I just don't like. It's very hard to do.
Well, is this going to be the all under show in the NFC outside of like 3
I took
teams?
the Eagles. I took the Eagles over.
I suppose that's true. So
I have some overs coming in the West. I have some overs coming in the North, but not here.
I'm going to go under 7, Geoff. 7 seems like the right number. There's definitely a no bet because 7 wins does seem possible. Does 8 wins? Yeah, I mean, it's most definitely within the range of outcomes. They could be good for all we know. But this does feel like a transition season between, is Daniel Jones their guy? Because if he's not, there's going to be a new quarterback in New Jersey next year. But if Daboll can get something out of him, maybe he's a good enough coach and a good enough offensive schemer that he can really get Daniel Jones away from the things that he does very poorly, emphasize more on things he really does well. And that's just not something that he's had the entire time he's been in the league.
I agree with everything you and Tim have essentially said. Put it together, that could be my take. 8 just seems too high. I don't see them getting to 8. I am the one that is running the trifecta of unders here. Wasn't really a plan, but I don't feel confident in anyone clearing those numbers. I, like Tim, think the season will end. The Giants might be horrible, but there could be this consensus vibe around the league that they're really going in the right steps. We'll see some good things from their young players. I do believe that, but I think there could be I think that part of the plan could be to not have a problem being horrible this year in the transition season you speak about in what looks to be a very profitable quarterback situation next offseason's draft. So I'm taking the under. Obviously, I'm going to be wrong somewhere in this division. If you're asking me to pick the winner,
well, spoiler alert: we will be picking the winner of this division. That's part of the show, Geoff.
Okay, yeah, I forgot we just did the win totals. Sorry. So I'll save that for when you ask. But I'm on the under, but the arrow definitely up. And much like you, Pat, if this was sitting at that 6, I probably could have been inclined to pick the over, but it's, again, I don't think I'm getting to 8 where you'll be able to put an L beside this suggestion when you recap them.
Well, every year there's the two types of teams that screw up win totals. There's the team that got hot at the end of last year that everyone thinks that is just going to roll it over into this season and come out hot. It's collectively known as Miami Dolphins syndrome because that's what they, not so much last year because they ended up folding. Each of the 2 years they folded at the end, got hot midseason. But previous to that, when they had Tannehill and everyone, I'm sure you remember this very vividly, Tim, that they would just get hot for the final 5 weeks, go like 4-1, 5-0, then they'd be the real sleeper team coming into the year.
That's all you heard about all off season. How great the Dolphins were. They're going to the Super Bowl, blah, blah, blah. People love talking about them like that, yes.
Yeah, then they'd go like 1-7 to start the year. Then they'd do it again at the end and be like, oh, Dolphins year next year. But then you have the other teams like this, teams that we don't necessarily think are tanking, but they have all these young players, and you're like, oh, this is a transition year. They bring in a new so hopefully competent head coach, at least on paper, seems like a huge improvement over what they had last year. They add 2 rookie offensive linemen. Maybe they're really good. This is the type of team that just, they have the profile of the team that could really surprise. I don't think that they're going to do it again, but there's like a collection of like 4 or 5 teams like this. I think it's personally going to be Jacksonville, but I could see it being the Giants and not Jacksonville. Anyway, I'm going under.
When we were on Washington, I really wanted to ask you about that week 1 Jacksonville Washington game.
Well, if Jacksonville's going to go 17-0, they have to win week 1, pal.
Well, I know you're just
we have a mainstream game for week 1.
You're high on both of those teams to be decent. So I was just wondering where your head would be at, but we'll find out when we do a week 1 spread show.
What a garbage game that is. Oh my God.
What is the spread in that game right now?
Where's the game?
It was like 4 or 4.5. For
Washington, I'll take the Jags.
If it's in Washington, I would take Jacksonville. If it's in Jacksonville, yeah.
Well, if the Jags are so you would take Washington, you would take Jacksonville if it was in Washington and they were 4-point dogs, but you wouldn't take Jacksonville at home.
Yeah, I think I would take. I probably would take Jacksonville in both instances.
Okay.
Both teams are awful though, but
I don't know about awful. They might be awful. Who knows?
Talentless, talent free.
I don't know about that, but you're big on the Jets' talent.
Well, just neither the Jags or Commanders have any quarterback play.
All right, here we go. Let's pick the division winner, Geoff. Since you were so keen on it, who are you picking to win the division? I'm gonna pick Dallas to win the division.
I, like you, am picking Dallas to win the division. I picked them under. I picked the whole division under. But when forced to try to figure out who might rise to the top here, I'll take the favorite. Give me Dallas. I will not have a favorite as we go mostly through this NFC, I believe.
Tim, I told you that at runthesims.com/Mayo for that discount, you can run simulations you can run each game up to 10,000 times if you want to with your own customizable projections. But Madden ran, I believe, 1,000 simulations of the season. Dak Prescott was MVP the most times.
I mean, I don't think it's impossible. Dak is a marvelous quarterback. It wouldn't shock me in the least. I like Philadelphia to win the division.
So Dallas, Philly. The coin will abstain from making a pick on the division because there are 4 options. Coin only has 2 sides. We need one of those weird Dungeons and Dragons die. Oh, should we get the dice? The die? The die is going to come pick divisions? So no. Okay, we'll pass on that. But we are at the midway point of the show, and since we split this into 4 shows instead of 2, that means we need to add, in between divisions, a Cust Corner.
Cust Corner, it's Cust Corner. Cust Corner, it's Cust Corner. He's got the hottest takes with the highest stakes. He should be president of the United States, but it's Cust Corner, it's Cust Corner. Cust Corner,
So I will ask you this question, Geoff, because I spoke about this with Pat and other people this week, and I got indignant answers. But you're a more cultured person, and you'll understand this perhaps. So earlier in the week, or I guess last week, I was at a hotel. And I am of the belief that if you're the guest of a hotel, that the front desk should make all your restaurant reservations for you if you want. You just call down and say, I'd like to eat at such and such a place at such and such a time. Please make a reservation for me. And when I mentioned this to the group that we were in, I got lambasted by people saying, what's wrong with you, blah, blah, blah. Unless you're staying at the Ritz-Carlton and you have a concierge,
yes,
you don't have anybody who does this. The front desk is not going to make your reservations for it. But it seems to me I'm the guest at a nice hotel. They should be making the reservations for me.
The concierge's job is to make the reservations for you.
But this doesn't have a concierge.
Then you're fucking, when you're staying at the Howard Johnson or the Marriott, you don't get that service.
It was a nice hotel.
You're lucky to get is a printout of the restaurants near the hotel that have been recommended with numbers, and that's what they'll give you.
I should be able to pick up my room phone and say, hi there, I'm in room 724. I'd like you to make me a reservation at this particular restaurant at 8 p.m. tonight. Thank you. And then you hang up. They should do that for you. I'm the guest.
You're living in some aristocratic period of travel when it was truly, I guess, for only rich people. Now you go on a plane, people are having goddamn pajama parties. So, no, you are wrong. You are wrong. You're unless you're staying at a really nice resort, where there is the concierge and they'll help you get a reservation. You're done. You're toast. You're so out of touch.
How is that out of touch? It's their job to look after me as a guest.
No, it isn't. It's their job to work the front desk, to sign people in, to give people like you free toothbrushes and free deodorant.
Oh, Geoff, Tim stole the garbage bag out of the garbage can at his hotel.
Well, we can't get plastic bags here anymore, so I took the plastic bags out of the ice bucket, out of the garbage can. Oh, yeah, those came
What
home.
does that mean? It's like, because you go to Walmart, they don't even give you bags anymore.
Exactly.
So anywhere you can score a loose leaf bag?
A Lucy.
100%.
Like some people buy Lucy cigs. Tim's on the black market for Lucy plastic bags.
So what am I? And okay, well, I mean, I am getting the same indignant response from Jeffrey. It's not
indignant. You have to stay
entitled to it from the front desk staff. What am I entitled to?
Toiletries.
What services?
What hotel?
Yeah, it depends on what hotel you're staying at.
It's like a $200 a night type of hotel.
Yeah, not expensive enough.
In the summer of 2022, $200 is a dump. Because I did a boys trip and literally I thought I was in a jail
too
cell.
Rich. Okay, well, this was
should see. I wish I had the pictures.
Paul, yes, you have something to chime in here.
Yeah, my sister and her family stayed at the Hampton Inn, and it cost them over $300, and they weren't even in like the nice part of the city. They were on the other side of the bridge. So like $200 is a straight up dump. And why? It's not their job to call. It's not their job to call because you're too scared to call and make reservations on your own.
There's no reason they can't to look after me as a guest. I'm the guest of the hotel.
If everyone did it, they would need more. Like they would have to charge you $250 for that dump.
Then go ahead. If you're if you're servicing me as the guest, go ahead.
No, they're there to supply you your room key and to give you like.
Yeah,
they're not there. They're not there to.
If the air conditioner is broke, you can call them. They'll send someone up. You need more towels. Call them. They'll send something up. But to make your dinner reservations at non-hotel restaurants, that's what a concierge service does. And you're probably, I would say minimum per night. You're probably looking at least $750 a night per room for at least that service to exist at that hotel. It might not
you're
exist
probably right.
at that hotel.
You're probably right.
But that's at least probably the minimum threshold for that service. Maybe
you're probably right.
I'm sure that I'm sure there are hotels that exist that have a concierge service that is cheaper. But I'd say like if we're taking the mean here, that's like the low end of pricing that you're looking for.
Yeah, or maybe some you're 100% right. And to make Tim even angry, you know what the person at the front desk job is? It's to take your request for an extra pillow and then input it into a robot to go bring you an extra pillow.
Well, I don't care how it's done. All I care about is being serviced as the guest who's spending his money at a place, and I am asking.
Who are you, Dominic Strauss-Kahn? You looking for a handy too?
Oh my goodness! I'm asking for the person at the front desk to make me restaurant reservations. Seems perfectly reasonable that request could be given. You're
staying in a Marriott Courtyard, buddy.
Well, I mean, I would not look down my nose in a Marriott Courtyard.
I'm not. It's a fine, really fine hotel. It'll do.
Oh no, it's not. It's a dump. You just called it that. You just called it a dump.
That's not what. That's in fairness, that is not what Geoff said. But sure, you live your truth and hear what you want to hear.
It wasn't a Marriott Courtyard. Although I've been at Marriott Courtyards and I rather like them.
Yeah, they also don't have concierge services to make your reservations for you.
They have somebody working at the front desk who is always idle every time I walk by. The least they could do for me is make a reservation for me if I ask.
So-
and if it's so easy, as I've been told that it takes 10 seconds on the internet.
Which it
I've
did.
much
Our
rather
friend
stay from
booked
the corner.
you a table where you wanted to go in less than 20 seconds, which you
Then
could
it's
have
no
done.
hassle for
And
them.
your
Then it's no hassle for
your
them.
response was, "Oh, I didn't know they had a website."
I didn't know they had a website. I didn't know they had a website. one
What
told
year
me
do
they had
you
a
think
website.
this is?
From
I
the
didn't
guy
know.
complaining the internet's unreliable. Doesn't tell him the time of holiday grocery stores.
Well, I have another story too of people advising me not to use the internet for things, but I will leave that for a different corner.
Paul has a question. Paul is very invested in this conversation.
Do you show up to like a standard car lot and like hand the guy at the booth like the keys and tell him to park your car because it's a valet service? Because it's the same thing that you're
Their job is
talking
to
about
park my
right
car. I
now.
would give them the keys to ask them to park it. Yes.
Yeah, but why isn't the front desk
he
guy-
may give it to his buddy and you just steal your car because he's not
They
a
are
valet
gonna-
service. He takes your money in and out of the car lot. Like you're basically
Oh, I see
like
what
what
you're
you're
saying. I see
saying
what you're
right
saying.
now is basically the same thing as that.
Oh,
if you
no,
if
it's
you
not.
go to
These
like a
people are there
fancy
to serve me as a guest.
no.
Tim is
And-
literally
and to,
like,
and to look after my needs.
No,
Well, my need is a
Tim-
reservation.
does the keg have valet?
No, it does not.
So you're literally driving your car to the front door of the keg, staying at your Marriott courtyard, handing a stranger your keys, and expecting it to be
I don't
parked.
think that's quite the same thing, Jeffrey.
I think it's
It
pretty
kind
apt.
of is. It kind of is.
So, okay, so you don't think that I should be looked after as a guest. Okay, well, that's fine. That's your position. I think as a guest, I'm entitled to, and it's because it's so simple. Because
Okay.
it takes
I
15
think
seconds.
I think you hit on the key word, just entitlement. You're just very entitled. Tim, too rich. But
I will
you're so rich, just pay for better places. Then you can have it.
I will agree. Tim is probably like, it's an overriding thought that, like, for sure today, you are getting way less for what you pay for than you
Yes.
used to. And a lot of these establishments, even your Howard Johnsons, once upon a time may have had someone to do that for you. But you would have been like 3 years old.
No, he would have
Like,
been
it's-
minus 30 years old. Tim didn't grow up in the 50s.
Yeah, so I don't know. It just, you like watched a movie or something and presume that this is how it's supposed to be. But to Pat's point, no, you're thinking like you're clearing 500, and that might be conservative for getting that sort of service. And not $500 in a nice popular city. $500 in like Indianapolis.
Yeah.
They might make you a place at
Or
the
people in
shrimp cocktail
Indianapolis.
place, Elmo's.
Or people in Indianapolis just getting the shoulder from Jeff.
Yeah,
No,
but
I mean,
Not a nice-
$500
not a nice-
in New
not a
York
nice
or
place. Somewhere like Indianapolis.
$500 in New York, LA, downtown Toronto, San Francisco isn't the same $500.
If you stay at I guarantee you, if you stay at the Royal York in downtown Toronto, you would get that service.
It's the Royal York. It's the most like historic, nice, like fancy. Yes, you would get that service, but it's also going to cost you like $1,000 a night for that room that you paid $200 for. And that $800 difference is where you get that service.
Your comp being the Royal York doesn't help you.
Well, that's just a hotel I know in downtown Toronto.
Yeah,
But
because
I
it's
don't-
one of the most famous hotels in the country, and it's where
it is
like,
currently.
the Queen would stay.
I just looked it up. It is $1,400 a night, Tim, for their cheapest
okay,
room.
but probably for like the luxury suite, probably.
No, that's for the cheapest room right now.
Is that really how much it would be? Wow.
Travel is it's so crazy.
That's a
but
lot more than I would have guessed for a normal room. I would have guessed like a normal room that would be like $450.
To travel nicely is probably gobsmack expensive these days.
Dude,
In the summer, at least. In the summer, it would be.
Dude, actually, I got I got that right. The cheapest room is $1,400.
Wow.
You can
So
buy
it's
more.
hotel
You can buy more. It's a very nice hotel, but
And they'd make you a reservation at Soto, I promise.
yeah, but they probably wouldn't make you a restaurant in some like trash place that Tim wanted to go. They're like, thank you, sir. We're not going to make you a
they would-
reservation at Steak and
Put it
Stein."
this way. The best you're getting at the places you're staying right now is a printout with about 14 restaurants on it, and they'll say, choose your own adventure,
Yeah,
sir.
they might circle it with a highlighter for you, like with a map of you are here and here are some restaurants that you might enjoy, sir.
Well, that basically ended up what was happening because I felt shamed from our conversation and then didn't make the request. But had I not run it through my support team first and just acted upon my own instinct, I would have asked them to make me the reservation.
And maybe maybe they would have. I don't know. We just said it's nothing that anyone you asked would have done at that hotel because we understand the job of a front desk clerk at a hotel. That isn't their job. A concierge, that would be their job, which they didn't have.
I put myself in the position of the person at the front desk, and I thought to myself, were I that person,
Yeah,
would I want to do that? And I would say yes.
No, you wouldn't.
Tim,
You
why
won't phone
wouldn't
any
you-
places to make reservations. How would you do that?
I don't understand. Like, why aren't you calling the front desk and why aren't you calling the guy at the front desk and getting 2 tickets to Billy Joel?
Well, if I were going to go to a show or something that evening, I would have called down to the front desk and said, could you get me 2 tickets to whatever? Yeah, we did that. I've done that before.
You have done that before?
I've been to places before, like where my dad has gotten hockey tickets from the front desk to Montreal Canadiens games, for example. He just says, where can I buy them? And the guy just it was just a front desk clerk. It's like, we got some here. It's so many dollars. Okay.
No, that isn't uncommon in like Toronto. Like they have, and if guests want to buy this, like before, your sub hubs, they would.
Yeah, this is a thing that happens.
But I was more being okay.
Facetious or justice position.
He's taking the justice of position, Tim.
Well,
position. Did I get?
Yes,
yeah,
that's correct. Juxta position.
Juxta. Okay, I feel like Sal Governale the way that all played out.
I mean, Geoff was too afraid as a kid to call 1-800. What the hell was it? ABCDEFG for some hooked on phonics. Remember those commercials?
No, I don't.
This all goes back to your fear to speak to anyone on the phone.
Well, I'm just not comfortable doing it. No.
You're uncomfortable.
But I have to do it now because I lost a bet. Because Xander
really...
couldn't win for me. I have to now do it.
Yeah, that's a part of the bet now is they're one and done. When Tim loses, like he does every year, part of the stipulation is he has to call the restaurant and make the reservation. You could get away with it by just booking online.
I don't know how to do that, though. Like, I don't even know this place has a website.
I would make Tim, well, I guess your order would get screwed up. That'd be the problem. But I would make Tim, order Chinese food. But then the order would be bad. I wouldn't trust him to handle the group order. But Tim having to, talk to a restaurant about, an intricate delivery order would be... it would be horrific.
I do appreciate the stated goal to break this up into 4 shows is that the 2 shows were just too long. But now we're just making each of these shows the same length as normal shows. Now there's double them.
Well, then let's mush on to the NFC South, West.
South. Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Tim's MVP pick, Tom Brady, who is back at training camp. 11.5 is their win total. -600 to make the playoffs, -250 to win the division, +330 to win the conference, 7.5 to 1 to win the Super Bowl at DraftKingsSportsbook.com, which you should go play. And it's expanding to more states, as I'm seeing on my Twitter feed right now. 11.5 seems right. I think they go over, Geoff. As long as Brady stays healthy, over. Easy stuff.
Okay, so I'm one of these guys, Pat, as everyone who's watched the show knows. I just love the national content. I'll watch segment cut-ups of Dan Patrick's show, Rich Eisen show, and I can fall for summer hyperbole at times. And my head was spinning with this Brady stuff. Spinning. Who is this guy? He's all in all the time. He's just going to disappear. That's not good. The O-line, they're losing guards. They lose an all-pro center. What does everyone know? Brady hates pressure up the middle. Now they're, might be at the point where one more injury and Brady, it's like guys off the street to be his interior protection. That can't end well. And I'm having these thoughts of staring at Buccaneers missing the playoffs, 5-1, 550, thinking they're either going to be amazing or if it's bad, they could be horrible. The schedule's so hard to start that if it goes bad, maybe there's just we're not a middle, there's no middle ground there. But all it took was one day of Brady back, and you're he doesn't need to practice. Who gives a shit? He's Tom Brady. They're so fine. Give me Give me the I'm going to take the under, but they're fine. I've yet to make an over pick, but they're totally fine. They could win the Super Bowl, and that's not a bold take. It's an obvious one.
The coin is going. The coin is going over with me, Tim.
Yar! It's as a pirate. This is a free steal. This is free money. I love the over here. Love it.
Free booty.
New Orleans. Yeah, free booty. That's actually good. New Orleans is a challenge, in part because they're good, and in part because they tend to beat Tampa Bay every time they play. So I would be a little anxious about the division in a bit. I can see both those teams burgeoning on 11 or 12 wins. But I like the Buccaneers quite a bit. I'm going to play them. I obviously have to Brady to win the MVP, so I think they're going to play well. I see in a very, very weak NFC, I see all the pieces here that I need to feel comfortable taking them on the over.
The public agrees, or at least the betting community agrees with Geoff right now, because the over on 11.5 wins is plus 110. The under is minus 130. Saints, Tim, you call them free money for their over 11 or 12 wins? They're 8.5 right now. So
I like them a lot.
The under is juiced to minus 115. The over at minus 105. 20 cents at DraftKings Sportsbook. Fun times. To make the playoffs, plus 125. To win the division, plus 310. 20 to 1 to win the conference. 40 to 1 to win the Super Bowl. They do, I mean, at least on paper, their receiving core should be wildly improved from a year ago. This is a team that now, under not Sean Payton, is going to rely on their strength in the trenches. They have a good offensive line. They have a good defensive line. Frankly, their defense should be really good. Jameis is back. Hopefully we don't see much Taysom Hill because, I mean, maybe a tight end or H-back or something, but playing quarterback days without Sean Payton around, probably over at this point. I do worry that I think that people had it was so long that Sean Payton was there, and I don't want to call the guy a genius, but he did some pretty good work for New Orleans over the years. Because, Geoff, you had Drew Brees for ages, and what was the Drew Brees thing? Like, he was good, but he wasn't great. He goes to the Saints, and the dude's a Hall of Famer. And I think a lot of that has to do with the way that Sean Payton constructed an offense. Like, what Jameis are we going to see? Are we going to see conservative Jameis that we saw under Sean Payton last year that wanted to win close defensive games? Or is he just going to be Jameis from Tampa again? I feel like there's so many unknowns about this team that I'm actually going to take the under in this spot. Go ahead.
I know Tim was super gung-ho. So
but he referred the question to you.
Yeah, but that would require Geoff to listen and not take a joke.
No, I was listening. What are you talking about?
You want to see
there's
what
so many
Tony Finau's
unknowns.
odds are right now, okay?
No, there's so many unknowns. You didn't trust them. I was saying, looking at the unknowns, I'm counting the pick'ems they essentially have on their schedule. Feels like a schedule full of pick'ems and games that can go any way. I lean with Tim here on the Saints. I'm incredibly bullish on this team to be dominant defensively, and I have, for whatever reason, always kind of been a slut for Jameis Winston. I believe the ceiling can exist and the floor got a lot higher in his time with Sean Payton in New Orleans. You're not wrong, Pat. When Sean Payton got to New Orleans, there felt like it was an initial 5-6 year window where he was the best whiteboard coach in the league. Whatever he drew up on a whiteboard with Drew Brees worked to perfection in football games. I love the defense. I am high on Jameis Winston. Again, I think the ceiling is as it always was, a guy that can throw over 30 touchdowns. Problem was it came with 24 interceptions. I am naive enough to believe time in New Orleans, away from what was like a total freewheeling in Tampa, the floor got a lot higher. And it'll be required, but I'm in on the over. I think they threaten to win the division.
Dennis Allen, as a head coach, Tim, has a 22% winning percentage.
Yeah, but like Oakland was terrible, and they didn't he had Andrew Walter or something at quarterback. Like, he didn't have much skill. So I'm going to give that a pass. And he's been a very, very good defensive coach with the Saints. I think he was a good hire. There's a lot of continuity there. I don't have a whole lot to add. New Orleans gets to play Atlanta and Carolina, who are horrifically bad, twice. So, yeah, everything sets up, I think, for the Saints to go over their win total. And, yeah, like Geoff said, threaten Tampa, and wouldn't shock me if they had the tiebreakers on Tampa because they know how to play Tampa very well.
Carolina, one of those terrible teams, is up next. Their win total is 6.5. It is even money on both sides, -110. So it's a good line set by DraftKings Sportsbook, at least right now. To make the playoffs, +350, 9-1 to win the division, 70-1 to win the conference, 131 down in Giants territory to win the Super Bowl. Hot take, Tim, they're not going to win the Super Bowl. But Baker Mayfield has been named their starter, and I think this is really interesting because well, what we saw from Baker the last 2 seasons, one, he got the Browns to the second round of the playoffs once, and he essentially gutted out all last season with what was like a broken collarbone. And it was stupid to continue to play because he was horrible, but the dude played through an injury. If he's healthy again, like, it's a big upgrade over Sam Darnold.
Okay, but that's not enough. Like, that's not enough. Like, he was okay in Cleveland. He was fine. Not great, but good. The receiving core there isn't exciting. I like more, but I'm not excited by Robbie Anderson getting older.
Oh, hold on. You're talking about who you called a top 10 receiver in the NFL 2 years ago. 2 years ago.
Top
2 years ago. You said he was top 10, and now he sucks. He's washed
I
out.
think I said top 20.
You said top 10.
I think I said top 20.
You said top 10.
I'm not that excited about that.
Hold on. You can think about what you said long enough. People watched the show. They heard what you said.
How many games am I going to get McCaffrey? 6? Like, yeah, probably. I don't know. There's not a lot.
Hold on. You're down on McCaffrey, yet you said he's the number 1 pick in fantasy.
The logic is there. Like, it's worth the risk. But, what is it like? What's the likeliest outcome? That he doesn't play all his games. That's the likeliest outcome. And particularly when Carolina is like 1-9 and they have nothing to play for or something, like, is he going to play late in the season when he's dinged up? But you said he doesn't play when he's not 100%. So I don't know. I get why people will take him first over. I would too, but I'm also not I think it's just as likely that blows up as doesn't. It's just worth the gamble in fantasy football. I don't know. There's nothing about this that the team is very poorly coached. Matt Rule, it seems to be like the stories are that Rule is out the door this season if they don't make the playoffs, and there's little reason to believe they're going to make the playoffs. So, yeah, this team is floundering. It's gonna be a bad time in Charlotte this season. I don't see much reason for optimism.
I don't mind their defense, Geoff. And they won 5 games last year despite losing their final 7 games. They had Sam Darnold. They had P.J. Walker starting games. Like, if Baker's actually an upgrade, maybe he's not. Maybe Baker sucks. I happen to think he's somewhere in the middle of NFL quarterbacks, maybe like the 18th best quarterback, which makes him better than like Carson Wentz, guys like that. So I think if they can get some competent quarterback play, 6.5 isn't a ton. Atlanta might be really bad. Like you said, the NFC is really bad. I think that you want to take an over on Atlanta or Carolina because I think that one of the teams beats up on the other team and they end up getting to their win total. So I'm going to take the 6.5 over on the Carolina Panthers. I think they'll stay in games. If you really, truly think the Panthers are going to be bad and they stumble out of the gate, Matt Rule, first coach fired, I think would be the bet to look at.
It's totally there.
Yeah. That is actually probably a really good bet. Despite me suggesting with you I'm taking the over, I could see the other side of that coin where Rule would cash that ticket. We all know Tepper, high finance, all the stuff about him. He'll be quick, although it's a lot of money, and we shall see. Buy low Baker. I mean, every time there's an opportunity to buy low on Baker, sample size isn't big, but the University of Oklahoma and in some sense, when he came in with the Browns, despite being first overall, feels weird to say they bought low on a guy.
Yeah, they took him with the very first pick in the draft. They couldn't have bought any higher.
But then, the season didn't go well, and then he had the great little bounce back. Last year was truly horrible. It's the O-line. They have the worst O-line in football. It was them and the Dolphins. At least the Dolphins did a lot to overhaul it. The Panthers tried. I don't know if it was as successful. I mean, I think they only have one starter from last year's line. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, though. So it's still a very young defense. I like a lot of the pieces they continue to bring in there. 6.5. I see them getting to 7. If you ask me to guess their record, I'd guess 7 and 10. So I'm taking the over.
Not going to bet Matt Rule as first coach fired. It's 3-1. That's not enough for me.
Oh, that is bad.
Yeah. What's Staley?
Especially when you like them to hit the over. You're not betting a 3-on-1 to protect a 7-win, a 6.5 win over.
Staley's odds, as you just asked for, Tim, are 66-1.
Pretty good odds.
Fuck off.
What do you think Robert Salah's first coach to be fired odds are?
50-1.
14-1.
Oh,
I'd be surprised. I mean, like
I'd be surprised too, but like
expectations are low. We
like-
were not expected to win every one of our regular season games like the Chargers. So.
well, I'm just
I
looking
don't
like
know what. That's not true.
save it. Pete Carroll's odds are 6-1. I see no chance of him being fired in the season.
No, none, 0, unless he like committed a crime.
Yeah, I mean, he could go full Gruden potentially, but like this is his season. Like this is his season. This is probably his
But I don't
last
think
season.
Gruden's bet. Gruden didn't cash the bet last year. He resigned. He wasn't fired.
Oh.
There was a whole debate about that as to how you win that bet last year.
Well, fortunately, we're still in a grace period at sportsbooks right now. They probably paid out both if you had them.
Quite possibly.
Because they don't want to be losing customers over something customers don't like. We're still in that fun period. So over for Geoff and I, under for Cust and the coin on the Panthers. Does that mean that you are going over on the Atlanta Falcons, Tim, and their win total right now, which is 5,
No.
8-1 to make the playoffs, 35-1 to win the division, 100-1 to win the conference, 200-1 to win the Super Bowl? Because I got some takes on Atlanta.
Yeah, I watched a good amount of the Atlanta Falcons on Monday night because they were playing the Jets.
Oh, they're
in what is
you
the
watched them in the
marquee preseason game.
You watched them in the preseason, did you?
The marquee preseason game. The Monday nighter in the week where everyone plays all their starters is the marquee preseason game, and we got it. So I watched a decent amount of the Falcons, and yeah, they're not very good. Mariota is older and less talented than he was a couple of years ago. I like Pitts. I think that's fine. I like Cordarrelle Patterson. I think he's interesting. I think Arthur Smith is an underrated coach, but I just see so little talent here and two juggernaut or capable juggernauts in the division that there's just no room for Atlanta. So I don't like them much at all. I'm taking the overs on the good guys and I'm taking the unders on the bad guys. Very conventional in this division.
I brought this up to Pizzola. Did you watch the entire show, Geoff? Or just the part that did you search for your name and you just watched that part?
No, I wouldn't even know how to do that. No, I haven't. We could see where I am.
I learned how to search Facebook conversations.
You didn't learn how to do it. Someone told you how to do it.
That I'm very glad they did.
Going
I like
into my
when people
YouTube
teach me things.
library. No, I have not finished. I have not finished the show.
So I look at it, and I look at what they're doing on the outside. Like, I feel like they have a very high end in certain spots. And listen, I'm not going to pretend to be some sort of like offensive line master that I can tell you who's great on the I mean, I can read who is great on the offensive line because I trust the sources on this stuff, and they're pretty good at projections with this. I don't think Atlanta's O-line is like the worst in the league, but it's obviously not good at the same time. But Kyle Pitts is an elite talent. Cordarrelle Patterson can be used in very interesting ways. It's just, as Tim mentioned, after them, the drop-off is so huge to a lot of these guys. Is Drake London going to be great? He might be. I mean, where they drafted him, he should be great. Year one, I don't know. What's Mariota like? I could see him being okay. That's possible. I mean, but it's probably more likely that he's bad rather than good. But got some of your guys here. Casey Hayward on the outside. A.J. Tyrell on the outside. That might be the best 1-2 corner situation in the league, Geoff. You don't seem convinced.
No. Call me Principal Anderson, and you just found out I'm the revolting blob. No. No. No.
I mean, the Chargers don't count because their guys are already hurt.
That is true. I wouldn't even put the chart. No. Casey Hayward, it's 2022.
Yeah, he's still he's fine, and they probably have a top 3 corner on the other side.
Terrell, fantastic. This is a problem with the Saints. Well, with the Falcons. I mean, I guess the Browns game week 4 kind of feels win. They don't have many winnable games. You're staring at the schedule. They're almost like a touchdown underdog in 7 of their first 9 games.
I think
they have a rough.
Okay, here's the thing. I feel like they fall into that Giants territory of they're the team everyone expects to be bad. It seems like they're tanking, but they have this young talent. They have good players on this team. It's not like the Texans last year, where the Texans just had this team of like mediocre veterans. They didn't really have anyone good. The Falcons actually have good players. They just have more really shitty players than good players. But sometimes in these transition seasons, you get lucky with a draft pick or two from the 4th round. They turn out to be good. All of a sudden, you're at 7 wins. They won 7 games last year.
Very impressive. I'm going to pick the under, but this is where I'm going to throw a spice on it. I think they're going to be a really good ATS team, but they're not going to win. And they're not going to hit no win total.
I mean, if you think they're going to be a good ATS team, they're going to win more than 5 games. I'm taking the over. Like that's crazy person logic, by the way. If you think that they're going to cover if you think they're a team that's favored by or underdogs by basically 7 points in a lot of these games, if you think they cover a lot of the 7-point spreads, that means that they're going to be live to win a lot of these games. They're going to be coin flip situations when you're under a score.
I think I like Indianapolis's corners, and I like the Ravens corners more than Atlanta's.
Okay. I mean, I think those are perfectly fair arguments. I'm just saying that they have a top unit in the league. Maybe not the best.
Sure.
I think they're in consideration for it.
They do.
A lot of high-end players on the defense. Grady Jarrett. Who's the other one? They signed someone, in linebacker. Evans?
This season, yeah, they have Rashaan Evans.
Yeah, and they do play teams tough. I mean, they tend to historically play good teams like New Orleans very close.
Let me ask you this: is there the potential that? Remember the Jackson? I keep going back to the Jacksonville year, and they benefited from being so cursed they became Saxonville. But as you mentioned, Geoff, when we picked them to win the division that year, good call by us. We have so few. We have to bring up ones from like 6 years ago, but. You kind of said they just had all these picks for so long that when you look at these defense, they had a college football all-star team on defense. What if their defense was really good? And it turned out their defense was really good. I'm a bit wishy-washy on how they're going to get to the quarterback. That's a real problem on this defense. But if I told you just randomly that Atlanta had a top 5 defense, even though their offense wasn't all that good, would you be super surprised?
I wouldn't be super surprised. It's just they do have so much star power on defense, but where they don't have star power, it's just like horrible veterans. At least that's what I'm staring at. I know you're high on them. We did our award show. You've got, I think, Mariota the pick for comeback player of the year, which probably means they've cleared this number. They'd have to play well in that regard. And what's silly is I don't even hate that bet, but I'm not willing to invest in this team. Maybe I'm following the rule. You said you made the comment that it would be strange to pick over for Carolina and Atlanta.
I thought it'd be strange if you picked under for both those teams.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
well, I did.
Right.
I know you did. That's why it's strange.
I'm going 1-1. I've got the under, as I've stated. Yeah.
I'm going double over. And this might look pretty stupid when they have the number 1 pick, but 8-1 to make the playoffs in a bad NFC. I mean, pick your poison with one of these crappy teams.
Odds are too short. You're not getting value there.
One of these teams is going to make the playoffs, Geoff. One of these crappy teams. Maybe 2 of them are going to end up making the playoffs. I think there's value in these to make the playoff on the crappy teams in the NFC. Because I only have 2 that I'm writing off as just absolutely horrendous, and that's it.
This sounds silly then, Pat. Like I would take, if I was betting them 8-1 to win the playoffs, I'd take 15% of that bet, 10% of it, and put it on Arthur Smith Coach of the Year, 50-1.
Yeah, 8-1 is too short of an odds for this. You should be getting like 12 or 15-1. Maybe they make the playoffs. So I wouldn't make that bet. Tie up your money for a whole year on that. I think that's kind of foolish.
Let me ask you, Tim. What are the percentile odds on 8-1, Mr. Mathematician?
12.5%.
Oh, there you go. You pulled that right out of your ass, didn't you? Very impressive stuff.
I know what 1 divided by all the way up to like 15 is.
There you go. See, most people don't. But I think I'm going to be talking about this I've already recorded the show, so I know what's coming out. John Legacy and I might already be out, depending on when I drop this one.
You dropped it yesterday.
Did I say that already?
You said you didn't know if it was out.
Yeah, it's not out.
Look, people's jobs on this show is to tell you things about your network and your shows.
That show's not out.
That's our job. Our job is to tell you of these things.
As we are speaking at this moment, that show has not been released. But thank you for your management skills on the network grid of when these shows are coming out. Either way, Giants, Panthers, Falcons. Who are some of the other really crappy teams in the NFC? I just don't think Seattle and the Bears are
Chicago.
Seattle and the Bears are complete write-offs. Like they're god awful. But everyone else, like they can beat up on the other god awful teams and just pile up some like crappy wins, can't they?
Yes.
Arizona might be god awful too. But
There's crappy wins to be had. If you can win the games you're supposed to win, you'll be in a position late in December to have a chance, no doubt.
Paul, you had a question?
Like, what would the win total be on the Falcons if the ghost of Matt Ryan didn't leave town?
It'd be like 8, and I don't think there's that big of a difference.
No, that's what I think too. Is I think Mariota's got a lot more tools in the shed at the very least. I'm surprised by how disrespected the Falcons are getting. Maybe I'm just completely off, but they have
Paul loves the Falcons. That's clear.
I may bet them to make the playoffs.
You're going to need a second team to cheer for by the middle of October when all your dreams are crushed. So start looking for it.
So your prediction is that the Jets are going to start 8-0 and the Bills are going to start 0-5?
No, not 8. No, but the Bills are going to be a real struggle bus coming out of the gate. Looking at that schedule.
All right, so over for me and under for the coin. Jeff and Tim on the Atlanta Falcons.
I'm gonna do this once per conference, probably. I've been talked into a flop here because I really do like Mariota and Arthur Smith. So flip me, leave Tim alone. Tim's alone. I'll go the double barrel Carolina Atlanta over.
It sounds, Tim, like Jeff is taking a justice of position on the different ways that you can look at the Atlanta
to me it sounds like an injustice of position, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's well known that Jeff is the John Kerry of this show.
He flip-flops, and he probably has a jet ski at his club that he drives up to the first tee box with. He's like, oh, and you think if you don't stay in a $7,000 room a night, you should get reservations made you at the local restaurant. I'm sorry.
If there's one thing that we know about Jeff is that he's always coming up to the show and he always has windburned on his face from being out on the lake so much.
Yeah, exactly. And publicly making sure people see him speak the 8 words of French that he knows. Another big John Kerry.
Est-ce que je peux aller aux toilettes?
Oui, Jeffrey, tu peux aller aux toilettes maintenant, okay?
That's me asking the teacher if I can leave to go to the washroom because I don't want to sit here in your French class.
Tu peux fumer des cigarettes si tu veux, hein? This is what you learn in French immersion in Canada. I'm taking Tampa Bay to win.
Americans had to learn Spanish. We had to learn French, right? Well, it was mandatory French to grade.
Some of us, took advantage of that opportunity, Jeffrey.
Well, not all of us are looking for government jobs.
I wasn't looking for a government job when I was 12.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Might have been.
I'm taking the Bucks to win the division. Jeff. We're all taking the Bucks, right?
Jeff's going to take New Orleans, I think.
I'm going to take New Orleans as a swerve here. Yeah, New Orleans.
I don't hate it. I'm going to take the Buccaneers,
I hate
too.
that you don't hate it.
I don't hate it because I think it's in the cards because of the tiebreak. I could see the Saints and Bucks having the same record, but the Saints having beaten them twice. But I will take the Buccaneers here.
Okay, that will do it. Part 1 of 4 of the Win Total Special, Part 2 of the NFC with the West and the North is going to be coming soon. Reminder to everyone out there to follow Jeff and Tim, follow myself, and tell your friends about the show. Spread the word around, spread the gospel of the Spread Pick Show because it's back and it's in full force and we're going to see you for the next 5 months. So strap yourself in, just like max power, Tim. You strap yourself in and feel the G's. Maybe you'll win some G's this year. Maybe I'll be incredible. Maybe one of us.
There's some free money out there for when we do week 1. I'll tell you that right now.
Well, just bet the opposite.
I don't usually like the board. I don't like the board usually in week 1, but I like it a lot this year.
Just bet the
opposite. Actually, always say you like it week 1.
You do.
I don't think so.
That is something you say every year. You always preface it with, I don't normally say this, but and it's been that way for 7 years. You never listen to yourself talk, do you?
Do I listen to the podcast that I've been on? No, I was on that podcast. I don't need to. I download and delete.
Yeah, but I feel like you should listen to it to hear what you've actually said because it seems like you misremember what you say all the time.
All I know is that Silver and Black are on that free money parlay in week 1. Teaser, sorry.
I'm not taking the bait. Pat wants to get out of here.
I don't want to get out of here. I want to record the second half of the show.
We got things to record.
This is true. Anyway, I'm Pat Mayo. Sub to the newsletter, sub to the channel, sub to the podcast. You might get $1,000 for it. Probably not $1,000, probably like 500. And then I'll give like 250 and 250, whatever it is. Leave a 5-star rating on the Pat Mayo Experience. I can see Paul doing the I gotta pee dance behind the camera, so I'm gonna get out of here. I'll see you next time.